Hello everyone, my name is Seraphi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Magikey Suships. So Magikey and Suships have some synergies, which I will go over very briefly. Suships draw a lot of cards and Magikey needs a lot of cards. Magikey also cares about normal monsters and Suships empower a specific normal monster, allowing you to get a lot of additional resources. Lastly, the deck is of course very Xyz heavy, and the Magikeys give Suships tuners, which is very useful because a lot of level 8 synchro monsters are very powerful. The skill is called Master of Rites. It allows you to, when you take 1000 damage, return a card from your hand to the deck to either draw a random ritual monster or a random ritual spell. If we choose ritual monster, we will get our Betos Buster. If we choose ritual spell, we will get our ARA, because Mafti is not a ritual spell. That's fantastic. It allows us to get a lot of value out of our deck and make sure that we can set up this major combo starter. Betos Buster is the entire Magikey deck, and it's great to activate as quickly as possible. So this card will allow us to make our turn 2 going second or our turn 3 going first even more explosive. For the main deck, we have Betos Buster. This is a level 4 tuner monster. When it's ritual summoned, you draw a Magikey card, which will usually be World. And then if it attacks, you can return a card from your hand to the deck to negate the monster that it attacks' effects until the end of the turn, which is useful, but it's not really going to be a thing that we do too much because we're going to use this as synchro material usually. Uni, you can reveal one other Gunkin card in your hand, and then special summon Uni, and then if the card you revealed was Shari, you get to special summon Shari as well. If it was not Shari, you put it back on the bottom of the deck. You can target one Gunkin monster you control, including Uni, change its level to 4 or 5, and if you do, you add a Shari from your deck to your hand. Both effects are hard once per turn. Uni is fantastic. It gives us extra draw. It gives us a free special summon for up to 2 monsters in our hand, so it could be a free Xyz summon, and it also makes it so that we can get into some ranked 5s like Chronomaly V Mana. This card adds a lot to both Magikey and Suships, and you should play it at 3. Magnificent Magikey Maftiel. You can reveal this card from your hand to get an extra normal summon of a Magikey monster this turn, but only if you control a Magikey monster. When this card is normal summoned, you can target a normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position. And this card can only be used as synchro material or Xyz material for a Magikey synchro or Xyz monster. This card's great. You draw it off of the Betos Buster or the World, and then you will just normal summon it, get back your Shari that you've already used to combine with the Betos Buster for an extra Xyz or synchro play. Basically letting you double up on level 8s or rank 4s. That's fantastic. You should do that as much as you can. This will get you a very strong, very threatening board. Gunkin Suship Shari Red, you can reveal a Shari from your hand to special summon this card, and then you immediately Xyz with either the Uni or the Ikura from your deck into either Ikura or Uni-Class. This is fantastic because Uni-Class has a negate, and that negate works on traps. The way that Shari Red's effect works is if you resolve the effect in the hand, the second effect that happens on the field is part of the first effect, so your opponent does not get to interrupt it. It's all one chain. So they can negate every effect at once if they negate the card in the hand, but if they're not able to, like if they have Effect Veiler, then you will be able to special summon it, special summon the monster from your deck, and Xyz summon all as part of the same ability, and your opponent can't do anything to stop you. That's fantastic. And then you immediately go into your Uni-Class Super Dreadnought, which allows you to negate traps. So you can, as the start of your, if you do this at the start of your main phase, this allows you to basically play risk-free for the rest of your turn. That's really, really strong. Gunkin Suship Ikura, this is a level 4. It can special summon itself if you control a Shari, then look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you pull a Shari, you can either special summon it or add it to your hand. Both those effects are alright, but we're not really worried about this card. We want to basically keep this card in the deck and then special summon it off of Shari Red to go into Ikura when we need to. We don't want to draw it, which is why we're only playing it at 1. Playing 3 copies of Shari to make sure that our Shari Red is live, to enable our Uni, and to make sure that we have materials for Betos Buster. Magikey World, when this card is activated, you can add a Magikey monster from your deck to your hand, which will almost always be Betos Buster, unless you already have it, in which case you draw Maftiel. The first time each non-token normal monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect each turn, it is not destroyed. People do not see this effect. They don't play around it at all. So if you try and summon your Maftiel to revive your Shari while you still have Betos Buster on the field, your opponent is going to immediately target the Shari with whatever they have to try and stop you from synchro summoning, because you have 2 tuners and 1 non-tuner, and that Shari can't be destroyed. So they can waste a card like, for example, Live Twin Lila on this monster, and that will give you a lot of advantage. During your main phase, you can add 1 Magikey Mafti from your deck to your hand, then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. You can only activate one Magikey World per turn. So that's great. Being able to draw Magikey, which is your fusion spell, and then you just trade a card for it in your hand is fine. This is a card that will basically fix your hand twice, and that's what you need in a deck like this, which is so specific and requires such a specific order of cards to resolve. So you will like this card. This card is very good, and you should play it at 3. ARA, you can use this to ritual summon your Beos Buster by sending the Shari from your deck to the graveyard. That's great. This card is great. It allows you to cut the number of cards you need to ritual summon from 3 to 2, which is very important in a game where you only have 4 cards in your hand. So use this card. It's great. Draw it off the skill, and you'll be fine. Cosmic Cyclone, interrupt your opponent's cards and enable the skill. That's great. Mafty, you can fusion summon Andrabime with this card. That's very nice. Andrabime is a great Moss monster. You can mill from your deck if you control a normal monster. So normal summon the Shari, activate the Mafty, then you can send a Shari from deck to graveyard instead of sending the Shari on your field to the graveyard, which is very helpful. Magikey Unlocking, when your opponent activates a spell or trap while you control a Magikey Ritual monster or a Magikey monster special summon from the extra deck, negate the activation. If you do, destroy the card. Then you can declare one attribute, and if you do that, for the rest of the turn, all face-up monsters your opponent controls become that attribute. Hard once per turn. So a spell and trap negate is fantastic. A counter trap is also very, very powerful. The last effect is very interesting. If you have your Transform Meaning, which is usually how you'll set the unlocking, then you can destroy any monster that's summoned with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard. So this allows you to set that up. But it also enables you to kind of mess with your opponent. For example, if your opponent is playing Rockets, right? They have access to Void Ogre Dragon. You can activate Magikey Unlocking to negate, say, the Boot Sector launch. And then you can declare that all of your opponent's monsters are fire types. Okay, well, now that they're all fire, then your opponent cannot summon the Void Ogre Dragon no matter what they do because they don't have a Dark Tuner monster. There are a few decks that are like that where the attribute is necessary for certain things. For example, Constellars can't make Pleiades if their monsters are not light, because Pleiades requires 2 level 5 light monsters. Things like that. So there you go. This card is very good for interrupting a lot of decks. For the extra deck, we have Andrabime. This card, when it's fusion summoned, your opponent cannot activate any cards or effects, such as, for example, Bottomless Trap Hole. That allows you to then immediately activate its second effect, which is, once per turn, you can target one normal monster or one Magikey monster in your graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls with that monster's attribute. Then once per turn, if an opponent's monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard is destroyed by battle or card effect, if this card was fusion summoned and using 2 attributes as material, you can draw 1 card. So you pop all your opponent's monsters, you draw a card, and that's fantastic. It's got 2800 attack points, you'll kill people with it. Go ahead and play it. Draco Berserker, this is a great card. You don't need me to explain why. Transform Meaning. This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters each battle phase. Once per turn, if you control this monster that was synchro summoned using at least 2 different attributes, you can set one Magikey spell or trap directly from your deck into your spell and trap zone. Which means you can't set World, because that's in your field zone, but you can set Unlocking, and that's what you need to do with it. If your opponent normal or special summons a monster with the same attribute as a monster in graveyard, except during the damage step, you can destroy those monsters. So you activate Unlocking, negate a trap, then you declare fire. All of your monsters are fire. You pop your opponent's monster when it's summoned, whichever one you want, and that's great. Abyss Dweller, this card stops Orchist and Lunalights, which is very important right now, so I definitely recommend that you run this card. Chronomaly V Mana, negate a monster effect that's activated 1 time. It can activate in the graveyard or in the hand. It does not destroy the monster, though. Super Dreadnought, if this is made with Uni and Shari, you get to draw a card, and this card can attack directly permanently. Also, once per turn during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Gunkan monsters you control that were special summoned from the extra deck and negate their effects permanently. That's amazing. It's cards, not monsters, so you can negate traps, you can negate spells. This helps you deal with Yubel, it helps you deal with Neos Kluger, it helps you deal with a lot of other dangerous cards like Lunalight Tiger, for example. So this card will save you a lot. Ikura-Class, if this card is summoned using Ikura and Shari, then you can draw a card, and this card can make up to 2 attacks each battle phase. Once per turn, when your Gunkan monster that was special summoned from the extra deck inflicts damage to your opponent, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. That's great. Uni-Class can attack directly. So Uni-Class attacks directly, you trigger the Ikura-Class to pop whatever card you need to get rid of from your opponent, then Ikura-Class can attack as well, and you win the game. For part 2, if this card is Exceed Summon, you can attach 1 material from this card to draw 1 level 4 or higher normal monster from your deck or graveyard. Great, we get more Sharis. If this card has a normal monster as material, it gains this effect. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster with the same attribute as a normal monster or a Magikey monster in your graveyard, you get to attach 1 material from this card. Your opponent must send that monster to the graveyard. So, It's important to note that if you want to use the second effect of the part 2 and you activate the first effect, you need to not detach the Shari, because the second effect requires that you have a normal monster as material, and the first effect requires that you detach a material. So just detach the tuner monster instead of Shari. Now, the part 2's second effect is very weird, and it has a lot of implications. First of all, it does not target, it does not destroy, it's great, but it also works on monsters that are unaffected by card effects, because the effect is not send that monster to the graveyard, it's your opponent must send that monster to the graveyard. So the part 2's ability affects the opponent, not any monster, which means that it can work on Immortal Phoenix, for example, and if your opponent attacks into you with Neos Kluger, and you use this effect, then Neos Kluger does not summon Neos Wiseman because you didn't send the monster to the graveyard with a card effect. Your opponent sent it to the graveyard for, I guess, no reason. It's an interesting card, but regardless, that's the deck. We want to summon a bunch of negates. We want to make a huge amount of ships going second and crush our opponents. There are a lot of draws in this deck, and you will be able to make a huge board. Let's take a look at the replay. Alright, so we're going first against Destiny Hero, and we don't have any way to ritual summon, which is kind of sad. So we'll start things off slow. Activate the Uni, reveal the Shari, special summon the Shari, change it to level 5, draw the Shari red, and exceeds into Chronomaly V mana in defense position. This gives us a negate, which is great. We then set our Cosmic Cyclone and pass. It's our opponent's turn, they immediately start with Book of Moon. Sad. But that's okay, we will get rid of their cards in other ways. The opponent is then going to normal summon Drill Dark, and then special summon the Celestial. Then they activate their skill after setting a card, and they send Malicious to the graveyard, set the Polymerization, activate Malicious' effect. That was a mistake. Now we can chain Cosmic Cyclone and banish that Polymerization. We know exactly where it is. He special summons a monster, then he tries to consider what he can do. He decides to do nothing and passes. It's our turn. We activate Cosmic Cyclone again, and our opponent is going to activate Expendable Die to pop our face-down monster. Alright, so at this point, we had the Suship Shari Red and the Betos Buster in our hand. Now we drew the Shari Red from another card, so we are already +1 from our original starting hand. But still, we don't have a lot of options. We activate the skill and we return that card to the deck to draw ARA. Now let's take a look at how much value we get out of this skill activation. Activate the ARA, mill the Shari, that gives us another card in the graveyard. Ritual summon the Betos Buster even though we had no ritual monsters to tribute in hand. Draw the Magikey World, activate World, draw Mafteal. Mafteal effect, we get an extra normal. Normal summon it and bring back the monster. Synchro into the Draco Berserker. Battle, attack with Draco Berserker, steal the attack points, attack again, and that's lethal. There you go, chat. We had absolutely nothing. We had a dead level 4 and a ritual monster with no ritual spell. We activated our skill, we fixed our hand, we were able to use additional resources from our deck, then we drew 2 cards. One of those cards allowed us to bring another card back from the graveyard, and then we were able to synchro summon and kill our opponent from nothing. This is the power of Magikey Suships. This is the power of a deck that digs like no tomorrow, and a skill that will fix your hand perfectly. My name is Seraphi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.